Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to talk kit bashing a little bit more. Now, this is probably going to be a shorter video. I'm going to try and make it shorter because I just want to throw out some ideas and throw out the process by which I decide what to do with kit bashes and converting. And this is mostly down to the fact that when I did the video about the Emperor's Children project that I've started, there is some very good feedback and some very good constructive criticism which I've implemented. So thank you for that. There'll be another update video soon when I've got a bit more progress on the models. But there are also quite a few comments kind of saying, you know, how do you decide what to do? How do you actually get started into kit bashing stuff? You know, but where do you get inspiration from? All of that stuff. You know, just how do you actually get into that side of the hobby? And I want to encourage that side of things because it's one of the most important, most interesting, most enjoyable parts of 40k for me, actually taking the various kits that Games Workshop makes and building something maybe not completely unique because people have similar ideas all the time, but making something that is definitely your own, you know, making something that you can look at and say, that could have just looked like this, but I made it, so it looks like that. That is a big part of why my Space Marine force is completely kit bashed, literally every single model. Even the primary stuff out of the Dark Imperium box, which I was originally just going to leave standard, I ended up doing a head swap on. It's not much, but you know, it's just a little something to make it more my own. Even things like the Imperial Knight kit, which I absolutely love. I could have been quite happy to just leave it how it was, but Imperial Knights are popular. Everyone's got an Imperial Knight. I wanted something to make it my own, so admittedly now very dusty. I should really store this somewhere that is not rife with dust. But even that, you know, I wanted to do something to make it mine. So there's a nice Demon Prince wing trophy on one side of that knight, along with little things like a bunch of purity seals and stuff that I got from Anvil Industries. It's just, for me, the act of taking something that everyone has access to and making it yours. And there's kind of two ways to start it off. You can either set out to kit bash stuff, or you can just look at things and decide that you want to maybe not improve them, but put your personal mark on them. There are plenty of models where I've looked at them and I've thought, I actually wouldn't do anything to that. I like that. That is perfect how it is. I can't think of anything to add to it. I can't think of anything that would, you know, improve the appearance. I mean, that's pretty much where I was with the Primaris stuff. You know, having kit bashed an entire Space Marine army from kits from across 3 different, you know, Space Marine armies. So it's normal, standard Space Marines, Dark Angels, and Space Wolves. Those are the 3 kits that I used, the 3 armies that I used to build my Space Marine force. I looked at the Primaris stuff and I was like, can't really see anything I want to do with those. I like the way they look. I like the shape of them. I like the silhouette. They're pretty much how I would have them for a normal, you know, Imperium loyal force. And so nothing was done. But for other stuff, like for instance the Emperor's Children, that is an idea that I had in my head for ages, but just couldn't find the base for those conversions, for those kit bashes. I've liked the Emperor's Children for ages, and it's been one of those things where I've always wanted to do something with them, but never really found the basic model that I wanted to work off. The normal Terminators didn't do it for me. Then we got the Cataphractic Terminators, which still weren't quite there. We have the Emperor's Children specific Terminators that you can get for Forge World, yeah, but I wanted to make them myself, and I was going to mess with them so much that I couldn't really stomach Forge World prices for things that I was only going to maybe use 2/3 of, or was going to, you know, take various blades and green stuff bits too. And then, you know, the Allarus Custodes Terminators came out, and well, they were absolutely perfect for what I wanted, which is, you know, ostentatious, over the top, over ornamented armor with Imperial symbology that could be defaced and ruined, as in what Emperor's Children did to their stuff. And for those, it was a case of taking something Imperial and sticking Chaos bits on it for the most part. Admittedly, there's going to be a lot more done to them than that. I need to make sure I actually do scratch out some Aquillas and take a Stanley knife to a few bits so that they're nicely scarred, but deliberately so. But for those, it was very much a thing of, this is the image I have in my head. Is there something that already exists that looks similar to this? No. Okay, so you need to start from scratch. You can't just take a base model and add stuff to it. You have got to actually really start somewhere completely different. I couldn't find that genuine kind of baseline point of this is the model I want to start with until those models came out. And then as soon as I had them and as soon as I looked at the sprues, it was a case of, okay, I can actually fit Terminator arms on there. I can fit things from the Cataphractii kits on there, from the Dark Angels kit, from the Terminator Lord for the Chaos Space Marines. I can fit those on there. You can get the Chaos Space Marine heads on. Not that I'm going to be using those for much longer because someone had a good idea for that, but it kind of quickly becomes for me a case of which kits can I put with these with minimal effort. Does it look okay? It looks okay. Could it look better? Yes. Okay, how would it look better? Things like trimming down shoulders, filing away a load of the plastic so that it sits more comfortably, filing down contact points so that they actually sit flush because you don't want like gaps all over the model. Working out ways to mask iconography, for instance. Like there's a model in amongst my Emperor's Children Terminators that there is a very clear sign on one of the shoulders underneath the shoulder pad of the Crux Terminatus, the bit of marble symbol that goes on the shoulder of Terminators, and that is going to be hidden because I'm going to be taking green stuff to the shoulder pad and making it look like flayed skin, which is there primarily to hide that thing that I can't reliably get rid of without causing a load of, you know, clear file marks and stuff all over it. There is planning involved. It's best to plan it out first. The first time you kit bash a model, especially if you're planning to do it on a squad, for instance, get some blue tack and blue tack stuff in place before you glue it, because then you get a better idea of the fit and the finish. You'll be able to tell whether it'll work as a composition as a whole. I'm going to be utilising that a lot because for the obliterators that I'm going to be building, those are going to be Storm Vermin from Age of Sigmar mixed with Centurion parts for things like weapons and armour plates and so on. That's going to require a lot of messing with to make sure they sit properly. For those, for instance, I want obliterators, but I don't want just to take Centurions and stick Chaos symbols on them. I want obliterators, but I don't want to just buy the obliterator kit because it's dated and I don't think it holds up very well anymore. I don't think it's a bit of an ugly kit, frankly. I know they're supposed to be ugly, but the actual kit looks ugly, if that makes sense. So when I was thinking about, okay, I want obliterators for Emperor's Children. I know what I do for Thousand Sons. I'd use some of those like skeleton beast guys. I can't remember what they're called. What would you do for Emperor's Children? Okay, well, Emperor's Children are big into the whole genetic manipulation thing. They like a bit of roid use, as we know from having their combat stims and so on and so forth. And we have things in the Horus Heresy books talking about them making giant, monstrous roid Space Marines. So, what if they got either some prisoners or some particularly deranged Emperor's Children of their own, pumped them full of muscle and drugs and strapped a bunch of guns to them? I could see that. I could absolutely see that. And that's what Storm Vermin are. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge, remodeling the top so that you can comfortably get a human-ish or human-shaped head. I have been thinking about maybe using Ogren heads. We'll have to see what happens with that. That's the only bit I'm concerned about. The rest I've got down. I know what I'm going to do, but the heads are going to be an interesting experiment, an interesting thing to work out. But that's the thing. It's a case of finding what you want to produce on the tabletop, identifying whether there is a model that already exists that covers that, or whether you need to start from something even smaller than that. If there is a model that you know would cover that, but you're not sure whether it would work with other pieces, if you can find pictures of the sprues, that will often give you a very good idea as to whether what you want to do is achievable. If you can find images of the sprues, most of the stuff on Games Workshop site now has images of the sprues themselves, and so you are able to get a good look at what the individual components are. That is, I would say, a fairly vital part of it if you're planning on doing it from scratch. For instance, I was trying to think of what I would do for just standard Chaos Space Marines for this army. The obliterators are going to be roid-filled, massive, monstrous Marines that have got weapons implanted into their arms. the Terminators are, they've got a Custodes base. They're very ornamented. They're very kind of slim-waisted, but very bulky in the chest. So the overall image that I'm getting for the warband as a whole is that there is a lot of manipulation going on. There's a lot of like flesh crafting going on. So what if for this particular force I don't use Chaos Space Marines? What if I don't use those? What if I want to keep the image of kind of oversizedness? If I want to make it so that this is a warband that is, almost entirely based around improvements of the body as opposed to trying to seek out every little bit of kind of excess possible. What if they are a little more driven? What if they have more in the way of a goal in mind, and that is to become physically just stronger and stronger and stronger? Well, that would mean it'd be perfect to use, for instance, Primaris Marines. So for that, I'm going to be using Primaris Marines, but because it's Emperor's Children and they've got to have that weird edge to them, I've got a load of Chaos Marauder arms and a load of Orc arms, so that I can chop the hands off the Marauders and put them on the end of the Orc arms. So the Primaris Marines are going to be bare armed holding their bolters instead of armoured, and they will have their nice flesh skin cloaks hanging behind them. They'll have helmets, most likely these are from Forge World or from a couple of third-party places that do some pretty cool kind of Emperor's Children style helmets. That is what I've got for 3 units. I've got ideas for the Terminators, I've got ideas for the Obliterators, and I've got ideas for the tactical squads. Once those are done, I don't know what I'll do next. But the thing for all of those, the common theme, is that I've had an idea of what I want these to look like vaguely in my head. I've then gone out, I've tried to find things that match vaguely what that looks like in my head. Then I've gone out and tried to find things that I could use to alter those things that already vaguely match and make them a lot closer. It's very much a case of, here is the finished product. It's in your mind. You know what you want it to look like. Which model would be the best base for this? Okay, it's this one. Which parts would be the best to stick on that model to ensure that it is as close to what you have in your head as possible? Okay, you'll need that arm, you'll need that arm. What head would work? What base would work? Now that you've got that one unit, what would the other units in this army look like? You want to keep things themed. You want to keep things, coherent across this force. So where do you go from that point? How do you keep that coherency across the entire army? If you can get into it, and if you're prepared to put the time and the effort in, it's one of the most rewarding things you can do in 40k, in my opinion. Actually taking pieces from the various ranges and creating something that is undeniably and uniquely yours, even if someone has done something similar, it doesn't matter, because you have your own twist, you have your own angle on it. You have done something that, someone might have done something similar, but they're never going to have done exactly the same thing as you. And it enables, in me at least, like an extra level of pride in a finished army. I've been proud of armies in the past, but I'm more proud of my Space Marine army than any other army I've made, because it is entirely mine. It was made to look exactly how I wanted it to look from various different pieces, a lot of which didn't really go together, frankly. It was a right pain in the arse. Did you know Dark Angels and Space Wolf stuff was not supposed to mix? Yeah, shocking, isn't it? But it's so much more worth it in the end, and really all you need to get started, I think, is that initial idea. All you need is that kind of picture in your head of what you want the end to be for this particular model or for this particular army. And as soon as you have that, you will be able to identify a lot more easily the components you need to get to that end. So that's a lot more rambly and probably not as helpful as it should have been, but I'm hoping that at the very least describing what my thinking is for doing these various things, for the Emperor's Children especially, will give you an idea as to how to go about planning it yourself, how to go about working out which bits to use, and kind of how to settle on a theme for whatever it is you're working on. So I hope that was of some assistance. It probably wasn't, but I did try. If you've got any tips for this, then leave them in the comments down below so other people can read them. I really want to make it so that more people actually sit there and go, yes, I've had this idea for ages, I didn't know where to start, but now I'm going to try and find it and make the thing that I've always wanted to make. I'd really like to see more people doing that. So leave your tips in the comments down below. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click any of the thingies, any of them, click them if you like, don't click them if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.